Hello everybody, it's me again, Penguin21, and today... Alright. I guess I'm gonna have to talk about it. I really don't want to, and to be quite honest, everything else that I do on this channel is meant to be just fun, wholesome, fun stuff. And this was supposed to be a different video entirely, but working through burnout, you tend to get some really weird video ideas. So, what are we talking about today? Well, other than the fact that, there is the new good old controversy happening today. There's a plane outside the window. Oh, no, that's not the plane, that's the AC. Never mind. But, if you can hear that. Anyway, so what are we talking about here today? Well, to be very quite specific, we're talking about stop killing games. And the misconception that I actually ended up having, and doing a bit more research and having the backlash happen, realizing that one of the YouTubers that I kind of looked up to has stupid and dumb opinions. I mean, that's not really a big revelation, as I've had a number of YouTubers that did this exact same thing that I actually liked and respected a lot. And what's weird is that this is not the first time this has happened. It's just this is the first time this has happened on like this big of a massive scale. When the other times that the other person kind of went into the background, they just kind of crashed out secretly in the back alley with some sort of plane crash that I somehow missed because I was off doing other things. But yes, so today we are going to be talking about stop killing games, what it means, what it stands for, and then going into why exactly Thor, PirateSoftwere, I don't know his last name, nor do I care, Hackerman, sure, we'll go with that, Mr. Thor, PirateSoftwere, Hackerman, has decided to not learn more about this. So let's get started. So what is exactly Stop Killing Games? Well, Stop Killing Games in and of itself was initially a movement that was meant to stop killing games, obviously. Now, that seems like a very broad topic, and it kind of is, but the more specifics of this seem to be boiling down to stop killing games that have maybe not unnecessary online elements, but they are saying that they want games that have aspects of it to be in playable states after sunsetting specific aspects, or like when they don't have the servers on there. As far as I can tell, that is probably the best explanation you're going to get out of me. Again, this is me doing research, by the way. So I was actually doing research on this. I looked through the FAQ, I looked through all this stuff. It does not seem to target anything having to do with things that specifically rely on online servers and stuff, or it doesn't want them to specifically archive and present some of the builds and things to be presented online. What they are, or any of the licensing stuff. So all of that is still untouched and it is still fine. What they want, as far as I could tell, is that they do want games that have features that people pay for, features that people have to present themselves, I guess, to be able to not be taken away from the consumer unless you put it in a playable state. Now, again, I still don't fully grasp this, so that is totally on me. And again, this is from me doing research and from me looking into it, even reading the whole document, all right, and the FAQ and stuff, and watching the videos and everyone yelling and talking about it. So yes, it's for things such as preservation in terms of video games, and as far as I can tell, I am in agreement with this. Like, that is 100% good. I am very much in the camp of this is something that needs to happen for things such as archival purposes, for things such as a preservation of history and art and other stuff. And I am all 100% for that. And I'm very much so thinking that this is actually a net positive overall. Even if I don't fully grasp or understand it, at the same time, I get where things such as like PirateSoftwere can come from because they misunderstand one or two little aspects that we'll get into as to why. Now, this was being headed by Ross, aka I think Cursed Labs or Cursed Farms, who I'm fairly certain he's most famously known for his Inside Freeman's Mind series, which I think he got a sequel. He got a sequel eventually, so he's on season 2, I think. But that whole series of Freeman's Mind was probably one of the most famous series that he's known for, and he was the voice of Freeman in that series, obviously. Apart from that, this movement has been very active in even just its supposed failure state, or supposed slight failure. It's because of PirateSoftwere specifically that this whole thing kind of, started to go maybe downhill, or at least he's being blamed for this. I am unsure if it has anything specifically to do with PirateSoftwere. Maybe it doesn't, maybe it does. But he did seem to be one of the catalysts for this to not be as successful as it was. Don't get me wrong, there still was plenty of successes here. Like, there was actually litigation, and there was actually things that were being put in motion, even after PirateSoftware's supposed, actual destruction-ish of the full movement. Which, again, I don't want to say that he caused this, or that he was doing this, or that any of this was actually happening, because of the fact that, well, it's now getting talked about again. And I am a little confused, as this has been going on again for 10 months, and even I knew about this, right, going on for 10 months, and yet only now people are talking about this. Where was everyone talking about this when this actually ended up starting, right? Why is it only being talked about now and only being explained about a lot now? Is it just because of clickbait and stuff? That's the part that kind of confuses me, because, again, I knew about this, but I didn't think it was super huge of news, which I guess makes sense, at least in terms of me, because I have other things that I'm talking about in this. So, but yes. But again, like I said, as far as the whole preservation of games and the whole preservation of everything, it is positive, and it is a thing that I think can work when the details are hashed out. And that's one of my criticisms, that I think that PirateSoftwere was correct. It's not a great criticism, and to be fair, it is one of those things that I'm looking at and I'm realizing I get why they used the language that they did now, again, upon further research and further understanding of the FAQ and stuff. So, yeah, even just diving a little bit deeper into this, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess that makes sense as to why they used the language that they did. But it does just seem a little too vague, at least to me, in some regards. Because they do say, it's going for all video games to be preserved indefinitely, or to be preserved for the consumers indefinitely, essentially. And that is, again, very, very broad, and covers a lot of different bases and a lot of different things. But overall, not every video game can be like that, and PirateSoftwere is correct in that context. But they do, again, go on to explain that they don't want it for every game. They want it for very specific games. But then that brings up the whole thing of, if that's the case, why are you saying for all games? At least for me. Again, that's just very, very, very much a personal thing, and overall, like I said, I am in support of this. Because, again, yeah, I might not fully understand it to the nth degree, but I understand it enough that I'm realizing that the positives of starting this conversation and the positives of having this conversation overall is a net positive for everyone who buys and plays and enjoys the hobby of video games. So I'm not going to say that Ross is in the wrong, or Ross was wrong for using it. I will, however, criticize that the fiery language that he used when he made the video for it can turn some people off, much like it did for PirateSoftwere. So, I mean, again, it's one of those things where he insulted the people he's trying to get to pass and make the laws for this, so yeah. But, I mean, again, that's one of those things where he did it for the purposes of comedy and entertainment and to get people's eyes on the thing. So, you know what? Fine. Whatever. Clickbait and YouTube title and whatever the fuck is always really funny, and at the end of the day, it's really hurting no one except the politicians, which, you know what? Fair. But then we get into PirateSoftwere's response. And I know I've yapped on about this, but PirateSoftwere's main biggest responses was that it's too vague, it's ass, it's garbage, and basically just insulted everything. And what are my thoughts on this? Well, as someone who is a fan of his work, and I'm very much a fan of his work, and it's coming from someone who is like that, I, at first, again, agreed with what he said, or at least some of the basic big points of this, being that it is too vague, it seems to cover broadly too many topics, and this and that. But that was me just watching his stuff and not doing the research for it. So, as an average viewer, I didn't think much of it. But there was also two other reasons why I didn't really get that much investment into this. Mainly is because I live in the good old state of the US of A. So I really couldn't participate in the same way that other people could. I could have at least talked about it, but at the same time, it's one of those things where... But, overall, again, since I live in the US, I don't have the ability to kind of go in and make a difference in this context. But talking about it now, I'm going to at least bring it up, and I will, hopefully, if I remember, link it in the description or in the pinned comments, because it deserves to at least be looked at if you care. But the end-all be-all of his thing was that he was very unprofessional, which in my mind is actually kind of, now looking at it from someone who has actually stepped back from their fanboyisms, dropped the rose-tinted glasses, I now see how that was bad, and now that was kind of very asshole-ish, and how that's not, like, now looking at his content, that's kind of very out of character for Thor and more or less his entire brand of PirateSoftwere in and of itself. It's weird, and I don't really know why, because he then decided to crash out and completely go on a blocking spree to every single person that I ever brought this up to him, and I'm gonna be honest, that doesn't make him look good, and it's very bad, and I am now upset that this has happened no less than like 3 times, where a popular YouTuber that I once loved or that I had great aspirations for ended up just completely and utterly crashing and burning. Maybe not crashing and burning per se, but getting into some sort of controversy that revealed, I don't know, maybe not something severely bad, but it basically just became them to be, you know, on the wrong end of this particular argument, which eventually led to them taking a massive hit in subscribers and stuff. So, oops. Well, I guess it's another person I can cross off the list, at least for a little bit. Again, I think unlike most of the other ones, I'll still end up watching his content, unfortunately, because, well, I do think that he does have good advice when it doesn't come to stop killing games, and that he does have enough of this. So, yeah, I'm not going to drop support for him like that, because that's just a little dumb, because he had one really bad, really wrong opinion, certainly, but that doesn't dissuade anything else that he's said or all the good advice that he has given to people and myself and others. So, yeah. But at least I will say on this, PirateSoftwere in this particular big old thing is necessarily in the wrong, because I now realize that he made me accidentally go against my values of having the option anyway. Like, that's the whole thing. It's like having the choice to go out and to have this rather than not is what I would happen. It's like, that's my whole stance on a lot of things here. It's like having the option, having the choice to get a game where you want the game to be, having the choice to do the thing that you want to, rather than doing it when you have to or need to or whatever, is, yeah, because it's the whole philosophy of I would rather have the choice and not need it than need it and not have it, is basically what it is. And I still stand by that, and I am now and shall be fully in support of this to the best of my ability. Again, I can't really sign it because I don't live in the places where it would be, but if you do, go ahead and hopefully follow the link in the description. If not, yell at me in the comments, and I will hopefully get it into the comments or whatever. And Stop Killing Games needs your support, so go ahead and do that. If you want to learn more, again, links down in the description and stuff. So, anyway, with all that being said, my name is GamePango21. Thank you so much for watching this video of me just talking and ranting into this microphone. Follow me on all the socials, and, yeah. See you later.
Hey man, can I get a favor? Yeah, sure, I know.